When you are in a dangerous situation, it is your job to get to safety. Then once you are safe, you contend with the load from what has happened. And for many of you, you're probably just now getting to safe. It's been very challenging or in the process of that. Something that people sometimes forget until it creeps up on them, and this really won't be surprising, I think, to any of you, but grief is cumulative. So when a loss happens, we re-grieve our previous losses, and that too is normal. When I worked with children who'd lost a classmate in 9/11, before I started my doctoral program, I did volunteer grief counseling with children who'd lost a classmate in 9/11. And what I found was that the children came in and told me about when the cat died, when grandpa died, when mom had a miscarriage. These losses pile up, and when we get to a new loss, we re-grieve it. For those of you who are parents, be aware that as children can process a loss at a new developmental level, they're going to re-grieve it. So they're going to grieve now, but they're also going to grieve it again as they understand their losses in a more developmentally advanced way. And this is also normal. So I've got some books that I love to recommend. And of course, these will also be in the slides, so you don't have to jot them down now, you'll have them. But some books I particularly recommend are When Bad Things Happen to Good People. That's one that I think people find very useful when they're grieving or going through a difficult time. How to Get Run Over by a Truck by Katie McKenna, who wrote it literally about when she got run over by a truck. And she's doing well now, I will tell you. And then Resilient Grieving by Lucy Hone, who had really tragic experience of losing her daughter, who was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time, and unexpectedly, and talking about, and she studies resilience. So she knew what she was up against, and she's written this gorgeous book called Resilient Grieving, which is also very helpful. So these are all good resources to have for yourself and for your loved ones. Another book that I recommend that everybody read at least once, and I would actually say you probably want to read it more than once in your life, is Man's Search for Meaning. It was written by Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, who survived the Holocaust. The book was written in 1946, but he survived, but he lost his family, including his wife, his parents. It was tragic. And then what do you do when the unthinkable has happened? And I will say, sometimes people say, well, but my loss isn't as big as someone else's loss. But I'm going to tell you that if you're trampled by one elephant or by 17 elephants, you're still trampled. So you don't have to compare your pain to someone else's. It's your pain and it's real, and you have to contend with it. So I've got a few that I've picked out for you just to tempt you to read this book, because it's a really useful read. And I want you to think about them. So, and I will say that these are good things to think about and talk about with friends and loved ones. So ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life, he can only respond by being responsible. Another one. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And finally, and I know that this is gendered language, but this is translated from the German, so I can't speak to how it is in the original, but here we go. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So at times when things are hard, and they're really hard, and you really are suffering, these are things to think about. Maybe you can't, maybe you can't change the situation. What can you change? Maybe it doesn't seem meaningful, but what meaning can you make? What can you do here? How can you be in this moment? So what do we do in the face of human suffering? Often people are looking for happiness, they say, but I'm going to tell you, research backs me on this, but also just philosophically, I think as well. But Don't try to find happiness. Instead, you need to do something that is meaningful, contribute in some way, do something that matters. Often you will find happiness along the way, but even if you do not find happiness, you will have made the world richer in some way. But the odds are that if you're spending your time doing meaningful things and engaged in what is meaningful, you will find happiness. You will be happy again. But even if you aren't, it will still be meaningful. It will still be valuable. So hang in there and do meaningful things. And what do you do in the face of your own suffering? I've had students who are terminally ill. I've had students who struggle with losses of children. I've had friends who've had to struggle with these issues as well, with losses that can be seen coming, like ALS, and losses that cannot be seen coming, like a brain aneurysm. What do you do when there's suffering and you cannot avoid suffering? So if you find yourself suffering terribly, and you realize that current you, the you who is here in this moment, must suffer right now, then what I urge you to do is think of your future self in the same way you would think of a child you dearly love. Ask yourself what you can do for future you. Find a thing you can do, one thing to do to make life better for future you, and do that thing. And whenever you're feeling hopeless, do a little thing for that future you. Maybe you can't be happy right now, but maybe you 3 years from now could be and would be so grateful that you paid the bills, that you maintained friendships, that you exercised, that you did kind things in the world. That future you may want to look back in time and hug the current you who is suffering with great gratitude. Position yourself that way. So sometimes people ask me about the right way to grieve and about grieving. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Elizabeth Kübler-Ross's work. So I'm just going to very quickly touch on this. Also a very good book, but what she did was she was revolutionary. She listened to terminally ill people and helped them to be heard. She increased public awareness of the lack of appropriate end-of-life care, and she testified to the US Senate about problems in the care of terminally ill people. She did really important work. And what she found among the terminally ill people with whom she was working were these stages of grief. Um, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And they've been very well accepted culturally. But what's their scientific status? And the truth is, these are true, but only for a subset of grievers. Other people don't necessarily experience all of the stages or don't experience them in this order or in this way. And this can be problematic when people misunderstand Kübler-Ross's 5 stages. They were originally developed, as I was saying, to help to describe people coping with terminal illness, but they weren't really intended to describe grief broadly, and they weren't based on that. The stages are applicable for about 10% of people in exactly as they're described in Kübler-Ross's writing, but not everyone who's terminally ill experiences them all. In fact, Kübler-Ross found herself stuck when she was having multiple debilitating strokes and was dying herself over a period of time. She did not experience denial or bargaining, but found herself stuck in anger for quite a long while. One common problem is clinicians misunderstand Kübler-Ross's work. She herself invited further work and criticism and understanding in work, so she was not threatened by the notion that people might find other things for other populations. She her work has been misused as being prescriptive with patients, so they maybe feel that they're expected to fit a model that might or might not actually fit for them. So conceptualizing the model as having stages could make people feel pressure to achieve a certain stage or in a particular linear progression. That's not helpful for people, and it's not accurate. So Kübler-Ross relied on qualitative interview data to develop her stages, and of course it needs to be tested using other types of data, et cetera, et cetera. What she did was wonderful, important, and groundbreaking, but it doesn't answer for every situation. And it shouldn't be seen that way. That's not what she was aiming for. So she herself acknowledges limitations and left lots of space for researchers to investigate further, which has been happening, but hasn't been as well culturally accepted and understood. Another thing that's really exciting is the work of Teshy and Calhoun about post-traumatic growth. So in the face of having survived a trauma, it is possible to have post-traumatic growth. It's not only bad things that can come out of losses and traumas. Sometimes good things come too. And sometimes the good things and the bad things come. So a person could have PTSD, but also end up experiencing post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth, people find new possibilities, find themselves relating better with others and more closely with others. They develop personal strength they didn't know they had. They experience spiritual changes that can bring them lots of meaning. And a real appreciation of life can develop from this. So post-traumatic growth can take place in any or all of these areas and can be really important to people and really valuable. But how do we get there? We have to have self-care too. So I know others have touched on this, so I will briefly as well. So this cartoon, in case everyone can't read it, is I know you're always taking care of everyone else, but you need to take care of yourself too. Also, I need my stethoscope back. Right? So you've got this woman who's being seen by a medical professional, and the medical professional, she's trying to take care of him. And think about your self-care. And those of you who are parents, I know you're taking care of kids as well, but or grandchildren or whoever it is in your life that you're caring for, spouses, whoever, but anyone who's caring for others, you also want to model, especially if you're around children, what self-care is, because then they learn to do it too, and it's important. So even you have to take care of yourself and be a role model of self-caregiving. The old line about when the oxygen mask drops, you put yours on and then you help everyone else is important. So some examples of self-care are having healthy meals, hydrating, exercising, spending time with loved ones, getting adequate sleep, having regular medical care. Go ahead and get your teeth cleaned, take some time to relax if you can, and access community support, whatever that is, whether it's your spiritual community, whether it's your friends you go walking with, whoever it is, whether it's your Harvard Club friends. And then also have some self-compassion. You don't have to be perfect in any of this, but you want to work towards having good self-care. It's going to help you be resilient. It's going to help you recover. So think about what fills your cup. What helps you? Is it yoga, taking a shower, your faith-based community? Is it going dancing? Is it dancing at home? Is it calling a friend, baking, cooking, creating art, sports, whether it's watching it or participating in it, even better, listening to music that lifts you up, watching a favorite movie or show, swimming, whatever it is, think about what fills your cup and make sure you're filling your cup. Now, I'm going to recommend something. I want you to know that I am in no way endorsed by, have never taken any money from. I don't even know the people who developed this app, but I've seen it work very well for students. And I think it's one that, of all ages. And I think it's really kind of a fun, nice one. It's called Finch. And you can look it up on finchcare.com. It's an app that, that one takes care of a little zebra finch. And in so doing, the little zebra finch, the things you do to earn points are things like, did you get out of bed? Did you brush your teeth? Did you change your clothes? Or whatever it is, you can tailor it to be the things you're having trouble with. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's reaching out to others, maybe it's being kind to yourself. But it's a really lovely little app. It has a free version and also a paid version, and it might be a useful way and a kind of gamifying way for those who like that sort of thing, to encourage yourself to just do the nice little things, whether it's calling a friend, all kinds of things. You can personalize it for you. So another recommendation I have is you can check out Dr. Lucy Hone's very helpful website. She's the one who wrote Resilient Grieving. Her website is about helping individuals, teams, and communities cope with the hard stuff. So you can look at her website and see her resources and her availability for things. Finally, what about for things for children? I recommended books for grownups. Here's a list from St. Jude's Hospital, which I'll also link, but here are the books that they recommend for people. Memory Box is a very popular one, but these, and The Invisible String also is very well regarded, of grief books for children. To this list, I will add that there's a gentle book about PTSD called Big Bear Was Not the Same. And it's about a bear who survived a forest fire and is struggling with PTSD. So I don't know, for some people it might be too on the nose, and for others it might be just right, but it's a lovely, gentle book about someone living with someone who's got PTSD. And a book for children and the people who love them, Taking a Bath with a Dog and Other Things That Make Me Happy. This book helps kids and their people find joy on challenging days.